Hey everybody, Scott Detweiler here. Today we're going to install Stable Diffusion locally. Now, there's been quite a few videos on this, but over this time, the AI universe has grown by leaps and bounds, and this system has gotten a lot simpler. Initially, it was pretty code heavy, and you had to do a lot of fiddling around, but now it's relatively easy. I'm going to walk you through it. This is not technical, so don't be freaked out if you're like, well, I don't know if I can do this. You're fine. You have to install 2 pieces of software and download a file, and everything else is good to go. All the command line stuff we have to do is really about 6 words total, and they're not weird. So this will be just fine. Now, this is primarily for Nvidia people on Windows. There are other videos out there for people with Macs, older Macs, or AMD chips. I have an Nvidia and my Microsoft Surface Book 2, and it worked just fine on that. I was able to get it installed. Now, the big differentiator here is how much video RAM you have. So on your Windows machine, if you hold on Control, Shift, and Escape at the same time, it'll bring up your task manager. Click on Performance. At the bottom, click on GPU, and it'll show you how much RAM you have here, dedicated GPU memory. So the more of that you have, the better off you're going to be. Now, my Surface Book 2 only has 6 gig in it, and it works great. This will run on as little as I think 4 or maybe even 2 now. It keeps getting optimized all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to install 2 pieces of software. The first one we have to install is Python. So Python is the language that the majority of this is written in. The rest is in JavaScript and a couple other things. So we need to install Python locally, and it's really easy. It's a small file, and there's only one caveat here, and it's not that big of a deal. If you go to python.org, as I show here, click on Downloads, and just download whatever this version is here. This will be the newest version of Python. And just download that file. Once it's downloaded, just launch it immediately. The only gotcha here is you have to make sure that you check this box to add Python to path. Otherwise, you're going to have a little bit more work ahead of you, and we don't want to go down that rabbit hole, and there's really no benefit to not checking this box. So just click that and install. And once that's done, simply click Close. Now, the next piece of software we're going to install is Git. Git is amazing. It is the source code management for so many applications. Back when I was a software developer, we used Git all the time, and it's really awesome. We're not going to use the full power of Git. We're going to use one command, or really 2 commands in Git. It's not hard. So don't freak out and go, oh my God, I don't need the source code or anything like that. You're not going to. It's very easy. The installation of Git is a little fiddly. There's a lot of defaults, and you're just going to roar right through them. Now, I use Git for Windows because this offers a couple of other functions that we may use someday in the future. But I mean, there's really no benefit to downloading the original, what's called the SCM version, which you can go to and get if you'd like to, but we're just going to use this one. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions, and I'm fine with all of the defaults. The only thing we might have wanted to change was the default editor, but realistically, we're not going to launch the editor from Git, so we're not really worried about that. So now what we need to do is we need to go and grab the current version of Stable Diffusion, or the checkpoint model, and it is currently up on Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is pretty much the mecca of all things around AI, and it's where we're going to go get a lot of the models we're going to play with in the future. So you will have to create a login there, but you're going to use it because we're going to keep going back to that resource for things in the future. So don't worry about it if you're like, I don't want to create a login somewhere. This is the only login we have to create. Okay, so go to the URL that's in the description. You're going to see we're at Runway ML, and we're going to download Stable Diffusion 1.5. That's the current version that was just released yesterday. If there's newer versions in the future, this operation should probably be about the same. And we're going to roll down, and we're going to find down here where it has 2 versions. It has the pruned EMA only, which is the one we want, and it has just the pruned, which we don't need. You'll use this if you do training of things, which we may do someday. But for today, we're just going to download the easy version. You could go ahead and grab both. It's no big deal, but they are large, so it's going to take a while to download. So just click on it, and it's going to hand it to you. So the only thing we have to do with this is we're going to have to rename it once we download it, because the version of Stable Diffusion we're going to run locally requires it to be named model, not v1-5-pruned dot whatever. We just need to rename it once we put it in place, and I'll show you how to do that here. It's free. So there are a lot of versions of Stable Diffusion that you can run locally, and it's a free model, so it's taken off, and people are writing interfaces all the time. But there's one that has really kind of come to the forefront. Originally, I was using a different one, and this individual came on my radar. There was a bit of drama for a while there, but that's all blown over now. And this what we call a GitHub, which is where, remember, we installed the software Git. It's basically a hub for people to upload software and work as a team across the world. So if you wanted to participate and be an active member coding this project, then you can join it. And that's really kind of cool. You can basically crowdsource control of applications and writing them. Now, the person who's in charge of it, the person who accepts all of the changes, is Automatic 1111, and that's his username. We're going to go to his GitHub and we're going to download his version of this. Now, I've seen a lot of videos do this and they do it wrong. Okay. As a software developer in a past life, there's only one way to do this the right way. And once we do it the right way, we'll be able to keep this version always current. So we'll have the new toys as they're released, and that's the way we want it. We don't want to have to go through any big processes every time we do this. So while the model is downloading, we're going to go over to GitHub and I'll show you how to start that process. What we're going to do is go to this URL, which again, I'll put down below. And this is the core of the Stable Diffusion local install that we're going to need. And you see here, it has 177 contributors. So 177 people are all coding on this project at the same time. That's the reason why I want to adapt this one to my use locally instead of one with maybe some kid in his basement, which is fine. But he's probably better off just helping to contribute to this project than starting off on his own, borrowing all this code, and then kind of doing his own thing. So I'm a big fan of this. Now, if you really like this, again, like all things that I enjoy, I tend to throw a little money at it. You can actually sponsor projects on GitHub as well. So there's a lot of stuff this tool will do, and it just grows by leaps and bounds every day. So to get this installed, here's the right way to do it. Okay, it's very simple. First of all, we're going to figure out on our desktop where we'd like it. Now, what I have done is created a new directory on my D drive, which is my working drive, just called Stable Diffusion. You can really name this anything you want. It's just a container for the project that we're going to be putting in here. So that's really the hard part that you're going to need to do. So if we go to the Automatic 1111 version here, up here it says code, we're not going to download this as a zip file, which is what I see a lot of people do. We're simply going to click this copy button here. And this is the power of using Git properly. If you go back to our folder here, when we're sitting in here, we're going to change this to be the CMD, which is to make a command. Again, this is not going to be weird or code, so don't worry about it, but we're going to use a git command called git. And that tells Git, obviously we want to use it. And we're going to tell it we want to clone the project, and we're just going to hit Control V or paste it. This is all you need to do. And it's going to start to bring down the entire project into this directory for us. So now this is our local install of Stable Diffusion. So why do we care? What are we going to do now? Well, what we need to do is we need to put this model in place. So under models, you'll see that we have one, which is Deep Damboru, which is more for anime. And then we have Stable Diffusion. I guess so we can see both things at once. So just pick it up and drag it into this folder. And remember that we need to rename it. That's the only task we really needed to do today, was to rename this thing. Just rename it to model. That's it. So now if we go back to Stable Diffusion interface, what we're going to do is we're going to launch this. Now, here's one other little tiny tidbit I would give you. And that is that we are allowed to change this file. It's the only file that's safe to change in this entire interface. And the reason we may want to change this is if there's something we want to do. Like, for example, if there's a special command line that we need. However, I'm going to recommend that we actually type a git command in here. And that is, we're going to put git pull. And that's it. And what that tells Git is to go and pull the current version of this every time we launch it. We're going to get the newest version. Now, another one that I like to put in here is pause, just so that I have a chance to read the screen. That's it. And just hit save and close it. That's as geeky as we're going to get today, people. That's it. So all you need to do is to launch this. And the first thing it's going to do is it's going to tell us, try to do a git pull, and it says we're already up to date. That's perfect. Now, the next thing it's going to do after we hit our spacebar, that's what pause does, is it lets us hit our spacebar to read what might have changed, is it's going to go ahead and pull down everything else for this project that we need. This is going to take a while. So go make yourself a cocktail or a cup of tea or whatever you do, because this is going to take a bit. And depending on the size of the current implementations and different models, it may take like 10 minutes. It really depends on your internet speed. So don't freak out if you don't see anything moving. It's totally fine. The benefit of this to me is that I can set this up and run, say, 300 or 400 versions of an image prompt overnight, and then come in the next morning and then quickly cull through them and find the ones that I really love and then just delete the rest, which sometimes makes me a little sad because I'm like, well, if I only could change this aspect of the image, I would love it, but I don't love it. But now with in-painting and some of the other things that we can do in this system, we have that opportunity. And that's going to be another video because we're going to spend a lot of time going through the different perks of this interface because there's so much you can do in here, and one video would be an hour or longer. And again, this is a constantly changing target. Every single day, there are changes to this code by all those contributors, and Automatic 1111 is the guy who's kind of in charge. So he's determining what does go in and what doesn't go in. So you'll see a lot of things every day that come up, and they're all kind of cool features. Again, because this is open source, people are able to go in and look at the code. So if you're freaking out thinking you're downloading a virus or something, people can look at the code and say, hey, this is a virus, this isn't a virus. So your choice if you want to trust it. If you want to do that git pull manually, you certainly can at any time. Just do that same little trick with the CMD when you're in the directory and just type git pull and hit enter. I don't do that. I just put it in here automatically because why not? I just want to have the current version. I always want to have the newest toys. Let's go ahead and get it that way. We see here that it is continuously downloading different things. Some of the things it's downloading, so it says GFP GAN here. This is a facial reconstruction that we can use. If you get eyes that are weird or something like that, then GFP GAN can oftentimes fix it. Clip is the model that kind of helps you reverse engineer the text on images. You can drop in here and it'll guess at what the prompt was. Now, Clip is used a lot more than that, but that's the simple way to put it. And there's a bunch of other repositories here. There's different transformers that we can use, which we'll talk a bit about those kinds of things. Different repositories. CodeFormer is another really cool facial reconstruction, which I actually prefer than GFP GAN. It seems to look more realistic to me, which I really like. Blip is, again, another language model. And then it's installing those two things for us and going ahead and getting the rest of the UI, the user interface for us. Again, we don't really have to do anything. We just have to let this run. And you can see it loading the model. That's the piece that we downloaded from Hugging Face. If this wasn't here, you will receive an error right now saying, hey, I can't find the model.checkpoint. Where'd it go? And you're going to have to go grab that. Again, I would grab it from the official source. I wouldn't go grab it some just random places off the internet. Okay, so it says now we're running locally. So what I do is I just left click and highlight that and then right click, and that copies it. And now we can go up and we can open this tab here and just paste it. And there we go. We are now running Stable Diffusion locally. So my test is always box of rocks. I don't know why I use that one, but I always have. Again, the number of sampling steps. If you have negative prompts, there's a lot of cool things that this interface does that other interfaces don't do. Also, way ahead of its time in a lot of areas. For example, prompt weighting. If we put things inside of parentheses, it makes them more important, or brackets makes them less important. Well, I'll talk about that in another video, I'm sure. Any negative prompts, any things you don't want to see, you would pop that down here. How many sampling steps you want in this sampler. Again, if you're running a Mac, some of these don't work. In fact, I think only 2 of them work. I think Euler works, and I believe DDIM works. Otherwise, you're going to get a black screen. So just be aware of that. And then the height of width that you would like the image to be created. Now, depending on your video memory, you may or may not be able to get away with murder here, but I mean, you can really crank these suckers up and try for something outrageous. Why not? Let's see if we can get it to throw an error. If you wanted to restore faces, if you want to create kind of a tiling clang like Midjourney has, or if you'd like to do a high-res fix, this is a little more complicated, but it's supposed to fix the double face issues. But it's a little more complicated than just clicking the switch. And then if the classifier-free guidance, this is kind of the how much do you want it to follow the prompt. I usually use 7. That way it's a little creative. But if you wanted to follow a prompt exactly, you would go higher than that. And then there's all these, there's the extra things you can do. Extra thing there. We're going to play with any of this today. And then down here are other scripts. Now there's a lot of other scripts, and we're going to go grab some of those at some point here. It probably won't be today. I just want to get the basics installed because some of the other scripts are pretty darn cool. But right here, batch count, this is where you can run as many as you would like to run. So we can run 100 different boxes of rocks, and that's the way this will work. That's basically it. Now inside of settings, there's a lot of settings in here for where you want to put the output, how you want this stuff. We're just going to leave it all at its default here initially, except for this one, face restoration. I'm going to click CodeFormer, and I like it at about 0.6. That's the only thing in here I'm going to change. Everything else, we're default. When we get done here, we're just going to apply settings, go back there, and just click on generate. So let's generate 100 boxes of rocks. Now in the background, there'll be another window that is running. This is the one that we used originally to kind of launch this. And you can see the progress bar. So it's showing you how far this is going along. And as it creates the images, we're going to see the previews here if we have that enabled inside of the settings. But what's going to happen, and I don't have it enabled because it's not the default. We go in here now, we see there's an outputs folder. Inside here, we have text to images, and there we go. Here's our boxes of rocks. So the way this is being named is it's just a sequential number, and then the seed, and then boxes of rocks. At any time you'd like to, you can click interrupt to get out of it, and we'll be done. And there's the images we created. What's really cool about this is if we got rid of this whole prompt and we come up the next day, let's just refresh the browser screen so it has no memory of what it did. We go to PNG info, and what we can do is you can grab one of your previous images, like, oh, I really love this one, and just drag it in here and it'll find the information, say send to text to image. If we go back here, we see that it puts our prompt back, it puts our sizes back, it puts all the other stuff that we had checked in here, except for the batch count, which again, we had set to 100. And it also puts the seed of that specific image. If you don't want that one, then just click the dice here to clear that. -1 means that you want a random one every. So that's the basics of this. And basically you're just going to run whatever you'd like to run, and then it'll appear inside of this folder. Now there are settings that you can use to change that, but we won't get into those today. I think just getting you basically up and running is the important part. Well, everybody, that's how you do this. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up because this is obviously the start of a big series on all the things we're going to do with this interface. So if you have trouble, you've got to get this thing installed. Let's work through it and get it resolved.